My name is Sadie. I'm 32 years old, and I have a 7-year-old daughter named Emma, who used to be the light of our entire family. She had this way of making everyone smile, you know. The kind of kid who'd draw pictures for her grandma and memorize little poems to recite at family dinners. Everyone adored her. Until the day they made her wear that sign. The words on it were written in bold letters, "Family Disgrace." And I stood there watching them humiliate my child, unable to do anything about it. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. If you've ever felt powerless watching someone you love suffer, hit that like button. And subscribe, because what my family did next changed everything, and what I did after that, they never saw it coming. Let me take you back to how things were before everything fell apart. I work at an insurance company in Denver, Colorado. Nothing fancy, just a desk job that pays the bills and keeps a roof over our heads. I've been raising Emma on my own for the past 3 years, ever since my divorce. Her father moved to another state, sends child support when he remembers, and calls maybe twice a month. So it's mostly just the two of us. Our life is simple but good. I wake up at 6:30 every morning, make breakfast while Emma gets dressed for school. She's in 2nd grade now at the elementary school about 15 minutes from our apartment. We have our routines: pancakes on Sundays, pizza on Fridays, story time before bed every single night. Emma loves drawing, especially butterflies and flowers. Our refrigerator is covered with her artwork held up by magnets I've collected over the years. But we're not alone in the world. I have family, a big family actually, and we used to be close, really close. My mother Patricia is 65 years old and the undisputed head of our family. When Mom speaks, everyone listens. She's lived in the same house in the suburbs for 40 years, a beautiful 2-story home with a big backyard where we've celebrated countless birthdays, holidays, and Sunday dinners. Every week without fail, the whole family gathers at her place. It's tradition. I have 3 siblings. Dennis is the oldest at 38. He's the golden child, always has been. Mom's first son, the one who can do no wrong in her eyes. He works in business, something about investment consulting, and he's done well for himself. Nice car, expensive suits, the whole package. Then there's Linda, my older sister. She's 35, married to a guy named Tom, and they have 2 kids. Grace is the youngest of us at 28. She just got engaged last spring and has been planning her wedding ever since. We all live within a 30-minute drive of Mom's house. It's one of those families where everyone knows everyone's business, where Sunday dinner isn't optional, and where family loyalty is everything. At least that's what I thought. Emma grew up surrounded by cousins, aunts, and uncles. She'd run around Mom's backyard with her cousins, play hide-and-seek in the basement, and sit on Grandma Patricia's lap listening to old stories. She was close to everyone, but especially to Dennis. Uncle Dennis, she called him. He'd bring her little gifts, sometimes play games with her, let her sit in his fancy car and pretend to drive. She looked up to him. The big event we were all preparing for was Mom's 65th birthday party. It was going to be held at her house on a Saturday afternoon in late September. The whole family was involved in planning. Linda was handling decorations. Grace was organizing the food. I was bringing Mom's favorite dish, a chicken casserole she'd taught me to make years ago. Emma had spent weeks working on a special drawing for her grandma, a beautiful picture of our whole family standing together under a rainbow. Everyone was excited. Emma talked about it constantly. She'd picked out a special dress to wear, a yellow one with little flowers on it. She practiced singing Happy Birthday in the mirror. She couldn't wait to see Grandma's face when she gave her the drawing. None of us knew that party would be the beginning of the end. I need you to understand something about Emma. My daughter is not a liar. She never has been. From the time she could talk, she's been almost painfully honest. The kind of kid who'll confess to breaking something before you even notice it's broken. Once, when she was 5, she accidentally knocked over a cup of juice at a friend's house. She immediately told the friend's mother, apologized, and asked for paper towels to help clean up. That's just who she is. Her 2nd grade teacher once told me that Emma is the most truthful child she's ever taught. If another kid cheats on a test, Emma will quietly raise her hand and report it. If someone takes something that doesn't belong to them, Emma notices and says something. It sometimes gets her in trouble with other kids, this inability to bend the truth even a little bit. But I've always been proud of her honesty. I've raised her to believe that telling the truth matters no matter what. So when what happened next actually happened, I should have known better. I should have trusted her immediately. But I didn't. And that failure, that moment of doubt, is something I'll regret for the rest of my life. The party started off perfectly. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, warm but not too hot, with a slight breeze that made the air feel fresh. I arrived at Mom's house around 2 o'clock with Emma. We'd spent the morning wrapping presents and getting ready. Emma wore her yellow flower dress and had insisted on putting on the small pearl bracelet I'd given her for her last birthday. The house was already full of people when we got there. Linda and Tom were setting up tables in the backyard. Grace was in the kitchen arranging appetizers on trays. Mom's friends from her book club had arrived. Cousins were running around everywhere. The energy was happy and warm, the kind of atmosphere that makes you grateful for family. Dennis showed up about an hour late. He came through the front door carrying an expensive-looking gift bag and apologizing for being delayed. Work emergency, he said. Everyone understood. Dennis was busy and important. His time was valuable. Mom kissed his cheek and told him not to worry about it. The kids, including Emma, were playing inside the house. There were 5 of them total. Emma, Linda's 2 children, and 2 kids from Mom's neighbor who'd been invited. They were playing hide and seek, their laughter echoing through the rooms. I was outside helping set up when I heard them counting, running, hiding in closets and behind furniture. What I didn't see, what none of us saw, was Emma wandering into Mom's home office. Mom's office is on the first floor right off the main hallway. It's not exactly off limits to kids, but there's an understanding that it's Grandma's space. The kids usually respect that. But during a game of hide-and-seek, boundaries get blurred. Emma was looking for a hiding spot, and the office door was slightly open. She slipped inside, planning to hide behind the big leather chair in the corner. But then she saw something that made her freeze. Uncle Dennis was standing in front of the large safe that Mom keeps in her office closet. The safe door was open. Dennis was reaching inside, taking something out. When he heard Emma's footsteps, he spun around, startled. Emma would tell me later that his face looked strange. Not angry, but scared, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. He quickly closed the safe and smiled at her. His voice was calm, friendly. Uncle Dennis' voice. He said Grandma asked me to get something for her. Don't tell anyone, okay? It's a surprise. Emma nodded. She trusted Uncle Dennis completely. Why wouldn't she? He was family. He'd never given her a reason not to trust him. So she nodded, smiled back, and ran out of the room to continue playing. She didn't think about it again. Not right away. Dinner was served around 6 o'clock. We sang happy birthday to Mom, who looked radiant in her new blue dress. She blew out the candles on her cake while we all cheered. Emma gave her the drawing, and Mom's eyes filled with tears. She hugged Emma tight and said it was the most beautiful gift she'd ever received. We took photos. We laughed. Everything was perfect. Then around 7:30, Mom went to her office to get something. She wanted to wear a special necklace for the photos, a diamond necklace that had belonged to her mother. It was a family heirloom worth over $15,000, kept in the safe along with other important documents and jewelry. When she opened the safe, her face went white. The necklace was gone. I was in the kitchen when I heard her call out. Her voice was sharp, alarmed. We all rushed to the office. Mom was standing in front of the open safe, her hand over her mouth. "Someone took my necklace," she said. The room filled with confused voices. "What, are you sure? Maybe you moved it?" Mom shook her head firmly. "No. It was here 2 days ago. I checked, and now it's gone." The mood in the house changed instantly. The warmth and celebration evaporated, replaced by tension and suspicion. Mom closed the office door with everyone inside, just the adults and older kids. She asked a direct question. "Did anyone come into this office today?" Silence. Then Emma, sitting on the floor near my feet, raised her small hand. "I did, Grandma," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. My stomach dropped. "When were you in here?" Mom asked. "During hide and seek?" Emma answered. "I came in to hide." Mom's voice was careful, controlled. "Did you see anything?" Emma nodded. "I saw Uncle Dennis. He was opening the safe." The silence that followed was suffocating. You could have heard a pin drop. I looked at Dennis, who was standing near the bookshelf. His face had gone completely still. "That's not true," he said firmly. "I wasn't in here at all today." Emma looked confused. "But you were. I saw you. You were taking something out." Dennis's voice got louder. "Emma, I don't know what you think you saw, but I never came into this office. Not once." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You did. You told me Grandma asked you to get something. You said it was a surprise and I shouldn't tell anyone." Dennis shook his head, looking around at everyone. "This is ridiculous. She's making this up." Mom looked at Emma, then at Dennis, then back at Emma. "Sweetheart, are you absolutely sure about what you saw?" Emma nodded, tears now running down her cheeks. "Yes, Grandma. I'm sure. Uncle Dennis was right there." She pointed to where the safe was. Dennis raised his voice. "She's 7 years old. She probably saw someone else and got confused. Or she's making it up for attention." Linda spoke up, her voice gentle. "Emma, honey, are you 100% certain it was Uncle Dennis? Could it have been someone who looked like him?" Emma shook her head. "It was him." "I know what Uncle Dennis looks like," Grace chimed in. "Maybe she's confused about the time. Maybe she saw him in here earlier doing something else." Mom looked at Dennis. Really looked at him. Her golden boy. Her firstborn son. The child who had never disappointed her. Then she looked at Emma, her 7-year-old granddaughter. When she spoke, her voice was cold. "Dennis would never steal from me. He's my son." The words hung in the air like a judgment. I felt Emma's hand grab mine, squeezing tight. "But Mom, I saw him." Patricia's face hardened. "Emma, lying is a very serious thing. If you're not telling the truth, there will be consequences." Emma started crying harder. "I am telling the truth, I saw him." But no one believed her. I could see it in their faces. Linda looked doubtful. Grace looked uncomfortable. Tom just stared at the floor. And Dennis stood there playing the victim, shaking his head like he was deeply hurt by the accusation. Even I, her own mother, felt doubt creeping in. Could Emma be mistaken? Could she have seen someone else? Could this be some childish confusion? I should have trusted her. I should have stood up right then and said, "My daughter doesn't lie." But I didn't. I stayed quiet, paralyzed by the pressure of everyone's stares and the weight of family expectations. Mom made a decision. "We'll discuss this later. Everyone should go home now." We left in silence. Emma cried the entire drive home. She kept saying, "I didn't lie, Mommy. I didn't lie." I told her I knew. But I'm not sure I meant it. 2 days passed. 2 days of Emma asking me if I believed her and me giving vague answers that satisfied neither of us. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus at work. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face as the family dismissed her words. Then Mom called. She wanted everyone back at her house, a family meeting. No other kids, just Emma. That detail alone should have set off alarms in my head, but I was too exhausted to argue. When we arrived that Tuesday evening, the atmosphere was grim. Dennis was there, looking tired but righteous. Linda and Tom sat on the couch. Grace stood by the window. Everyone looked at Emma like she was the problem. Mom wasted no time. "We're here to resolve this situation. Emma needs to apologize to Dennis and to this family for making such a serious false accusation." Emma, sitting next to me, stiffened. But I didn't lie. Mom's voice was sharp. "Emma, enough. You've caused enough trouble. You will apologize or there will be consequences. I want to make something clear. I should have stopped this right there. I should have picked up my daughter and walked out. But I didn't. I sat there frozen as my family ganged up on a 7-year-old child. Linda leaned forward. Sadie, you need to teach your daughter to take responsibility. This has affected all of us. Grace added. Emma is making things worse by refusing to admit she was wrong. She has no proof. It's just her word against Dennis. Tom, who usually stayed quiet, spoke up. Kids need to learn that their words have weight. She can't just accuse people without evidence. Dennis played his role perfectly. He looked sad, wounded. I love Emma. It breaks my heart that she would say these things about me. I've always tried to be a good uncle to her. I felt Emma trembling beside me. My heart was breaking, but I still didn't speak up. Not yet. Mom delivered her verdict. Since Emma refuses to apologize and continues to insist on this lie, we need to teach her a lesson about truth and consequences. Linda nodded. She needs to understand how serious this is. What Mom said next made my blood run cold. Next Sunday, we're having another family gathering. Emma will wear a sign that explains what she's done. She needs to see how her lies affect everyone. A sign I finally found my voice. What kind of sign? Mom's eyes were hard. A sign that says she's disgraced this family with her lying. Sadie, this is for Emma's own good, Linda said. Dennis added, she needs to learn that actions have consequences. I think this is actually merciful. I tried to protest. She's 7 years old. This is too harsh. Mom cut me off. She's old enough to know right from wrong. And if you don't agree with how we handle this, maybe neither of you should come to family gatherings anymore. The threat was clear. Comply or be excluded. And God help me, I complied. Emma sobbed all the way home. She asked me over and over, Mommy, do you believe me? I couldn't answer. I just held her while she cried herself to sleep. The next few days were a nightmare. Mom called to give me details. She'd made a sign out of poster board. Large black letters on white background. The words, Family Disgrace, across the top. Below in smaller letters, I lied about my uncle. She instructed me not to let Emma eat breakfast before we came. The child needs to understand the full weight of this lesson, Mom said. I felt sick, but I still didn't stop it. I told myself I was trapped, that I had no choice. But the truth is, I was a coward. Sunday morning arrived too soon. Emma got dressed in her yellow flower dress, the same one she'd worn to the birthday party. She asked if Grandma was still mad at her. I don't know, baby, was all I could say. The drive to Mom's house felt endless. Emma was quiet, staring out the window. Once she looked at me and said, Mommy, I really did see Uncle Dennis. Why doesn't anyone believe me? I gripped the steering wheel tighter and said nothing. When we pulled up to Mom's house, I saw all the familiar cars already parked in the driveway. Dennis's BMW, Linda's SUV, Grace's sedan. They were all waiting for us. Emma held my hand as we walked up the front steps. She was shaking. So was I. Inside, the living room was full. About 15 people, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. The other kids were outside in the yard, thankfully. They didn't need to see this. Mom stood in the center of the room holding the sign. When Emma saw it, she stopped walking. Her small hand tightened around mine. What's that, Grandma? She whispered. Mom's voice was cold and formal. Come here, Emma. Emma looked up at me, terrified. I couldn't meet her eyes. I gently pushed her forward. Mom held up the sign for everyone to see. Today we're going to teach Emma about honesty and consequences. She made a very serious accusation against your uncle, and she has refused to admit she was wrong. So she's going to wear this sign for the duration of today's gathering. Emma started crying. Grandma, please. I didn't lie. Mom ignored her. She handed the sign to Linda, who stepped forward to help. They placed the sign around Emma's neck, tying it with string. The sign was huge, almost half the size of Emma's small body. The words were stark and cruel. Family disgrace. Emma's whole body shook with sobs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I really saw Uncle Dennis. I really did. Dennis sat on the sofa, arms crossed, looking wounded but resolute. If Emma had told the truth, she wouldn't be wearing that sign, he said. Grace shook her head sadly. It's heartbreaking to watch. Tom whispered to Linda. This seems extreme, Linda hissed back. She needs to learn. The cousins who were old enough to be inside stared at Emma with wide eyes. One of them, a 10-year-old boy, asked his mother, Why is Emma wearing that? Because she lied. His mother answered simply. Emma stood in the middle of the room crying, holding the edges of the sign with her small hands. She looked at me with the most heartbroken expression I'd ever seen. And I just stood there. I stood there and watched my daughter be humiliated by the people who were supposed to love and protect her. Mom announced that the gathering would continue as planned. Everyone should go about their day normally. Emma would remain in the corner of the living room. She wasn't allowed to eat until she apologized. The party continued around her. People talked and laughed. Someone turned on music. Food was served. And Emma stood there wearing that sign, crying silently. I sat in a chair near the back of the room, unable to eat, unable to speak. I watched my daughter's spirit break in real time. Her tears slowed eventually, but only because she was exhausted. She just stood there, small and defeated occasionally, looking at me with eyes that asked, Why won't you help me? Dennis ate lunch. He chatted with Tom about sports. He acted like nothing was wrong. Grace tried to talk to me at one point. She sat down and said quietly, This is hard, but it's for Emma's good. She'll thank us someday. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The gathering lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of my daughter standing in shame while wearing that sign. 4 hours of me doing nothing. When it was finally over, I took Emma's hand and led her to the car. She was silent now. No more crying. No more protests, just empty silence. As we drove away, Emma said in a small voice, You don't believe me either, do you, Mommy? That's when something inside me shattered. That night, after Emma went to bed without eating dinner, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Emma had gone straight to her room when we got home, still wearing that dress. She didn't want me to read to her. She didn't want to talk. She just lay down and stared at the wall. I sat on the couch replaying the entire day in my mind. Emma's tears, the sign, the way my family had treated her, the way I had let them. And then I thought about Emma herself, my daughter, the child who told me when she accidentally broke my favorite mug, the kid who returned $1 she found on the playground to the teacher because it might belong to someone, the girl who couldn't even keep a surprise birthday present secret for more than 2 hours because keeping secrets felt too much like lying. That child was not a liar. So if she wasn't lying, then what did that mean? It meant Dennis was. I sat up, my heart pounding. If Dennis was lying and he'd stolen that necklace, then we had just tortured an innocent child to protect a thief. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I'd failed my daughter in the worst possible way. I got up and went to Emma's room. She was still awake, staring at the ceiling. Baby, I whispered. I'm so sorry. She didn't respond. I sat on the edge of her bed. Emma, listen to me. I should have believed you from the start. I should have protected you. I didn't. But I'm going to fix this now. She turned to look at me. Her eyes were red from crying. How I'm going to find the truth. And when I do, everyone is going to know what really happened. The next morning, Monday, I called in sick to work. After dropping Emma at school, I drove to Mom's house. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I knew she'd be at her weekly grocery shopping trip. I used my spare key to let myself in. I went straight to the office. The safe was closed. I remembered Mom kept the combination written down in a small notebook in her desk drawer. I found it, opened the safe, and looked inside. All the other jewelry was still there. Documents, some cash. but the diamond necklace was definitely gone. I stood there thinking. If Dennis took the necklace, what would he do with it? He wouldn't keep it at his house. Too risky. He'd need to sell it or pawn it quickly. I went home and started searching online. Pawn shops, jewelry buyers, places that buy estate jewelry. I made a list of every shop within a 30-mile radius. Then I started calling. I described the necklace in detail. A platinum chain with a large center diamond surrounded by smaller diamonds. Vintage style. Worth about $15,000. Most shops said no. Some said they couldn't give out customer information. I was losing hope. Then I called the fourth shop, a place called Premier Pawn on the east side of town. "Yes, we have a piece matching that description," the man who answered said. "It came in last week." My heart raced. Who brought it in? I can't share customer information. But if you're the rightful owner and you have documentation, I can help you. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said. I grabbed everything I could find. Photos of Mom wearing the necklace, the insurance papers, the receipt from when my grandfather originally purchased it 60 years ago. When I arrived at the pawn shop, the owner, a middle-aged man with glasses, examined my documents carefully. Then he nodded. "This matches the piece we have. But I need to tell you something. The person who brought this in claimed it was a family heirloom he inherited. If you're saying it was stolen, I need to report this to the police." "Before you do that," I said, "can I see your security footage from when it was brought in?" He hesitated, then agreed. He took me to a small back office and pulled up the video from the previous Tuesday, the day after Mom's birthday. I watched the screen. And there, clear as day, was Dennis, walking into the shop, taking the necklace out of his pocket, negotiating with the shop owner, accepting $12,500 in cash. I felt dizzy. My own brother had done this, and he'd let Emma take the blame. "Can you email me a copy of this video?" I asked. The owner nodded. "But I have to call the police now. Give me 24 hours, I pleaded. I need to handle this with my family first. Then you can call whoever you want." He agreed reluctantly. He sent me the video. I drove home in a daze. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table watching the video over and over. Dennis's face was clearly visible. There was no doubt. No room for interpretation. Emma had told the truth, and we'd tortured her for it. I sent a message to the family group chat. "We need to meet tomorrow night. Everyone needs to be there. This is about Emma and the necklace. I found the truth." Mom replied first. "What do you mean?" I didn't answer. "I just repeated tomorrow 7 o'clock Mom's house. Everyone be there," Dennis replied. "I don't think we need to rehash this. The matter is settled." I typed back, "The matter is far from settled. Be there, Dennis. Trust me, you want to be there." Linda asked, "What did you find?" I didn't respond. Let them wonder. Let them worry. The next evening, I arrived at Mom's house with my laptop and a folder. I'd left Emma with a babysitter. She didn't need to be there for this. Everyone was already in the living room when I walked in. Mom, Dennis, Linda and Tom, Grace. All of them looking at me with confusion and concern. I set my laptop on the coffee table. I didn't sit down. "I'm going to tell you what happened to that necklace," I said, "and you're all going to listen." Mom spoke first. "Sadie, we already know what happened. We dealt with it." I shook my head. "No, you didn't deal with it. You punished an innocent child for telling the truth." "Emma was lying," Dennis said. "I wasn't anywhere near that safe." I opened my laptop and turned it so everyone could see the screen. Then I played the video. The room went silent as they watched. Dennis entering the pawn shop. Dennis taking out the necklace. Dennis accepting the money. When the video ended, no one spoke. Mom's face had gone white. Linda had her hand over her mouth. Grace was staring at Dennis in horror. "That's impossible," Dennis said weakly. "That's not me." "It's you," I said coldly. The shop owner confirmed it. "The security footage is dated and time-stamped. You took Mom's necklace. You pawned it for $12,500, and you let your 7-year-old niece be tortured for telling the truth about what she saw." Mom's voice was shaking. "Dennis." He tried to speak, stumbled over his words. "I can explain. I was going to give it back. I needed the money temporarily. I have debts. I was planning to buy it back within a few weeks." Linda stood up. "You let Emma wear that sign. You sat there and watched her cry. You knew she was telling the truth and you said nothing." Dennis put his hands up defensively. "I didn't think it would go that far. I thought she'd just get a talking to. I didn't know about the sign until I got there, and by then it was too late to say anything without admitting what I'd done." I stepped toward him. "Too late. It's never too late to tell the truth. But you chose yourself over a child. You let my daughter be publicly humiliated because you're a coward and a thief." Mom was crying now. "How could you?" Dennis tried to approach her, but she held up her hand. "Don't." Grace spoke quietly. "I helped put that sign on her. I watched her stand there wearing it. And the whole time you knew." Tom said, "This is unforgivable." I turned to Mom. "You made Emma wear that sign. You refused to believe her. Why?" "Because Dennis is your favorite. Because he's more important than your granddaughter's dignity." Mom's tears fell harder. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was teaching her a lesson." "You taught her a lesson," I said. "You taught her that this family values appearances and loyalty more than truth. You taught her that her word means nothing. You taught her that the people who are supposed to protect her will hurt her instead." I turned to the whole room. "Do you know what Emma asked me on the way home that night? She asked if I believed her, and I couldn't answer because I hadn't believed her. I let you do that to my child because I was afraid of losing this family. But you know what? I'd rather lose all of you than fail my daughter one more time." I pulled out the folder and handed it to Mom. "I already paid the pawn shop to get your necklace back. $12,500. Dennis is going to pay me back every cent. With interest." Dennis started to protest, but I cut him off. "You're going to pay me back or I'm going to the police. And trust me, the shop owner is ready to file a report the moment I give him the word." Then I addressed everyone. "Here's what's going to happen now. Every single person in this room is going to apologize to Emma. Not over the phone, not through a text message. In person. You're going to look my daughter in the eye and tell her you're sorry for not believing her. You're going to tell her she was right, and you were wrong." Linda spoke up immediately. "I will. I'm so sorry, Sadie. I'll apologize to Emma." Grace nodded, tears streaming. "Me too. I'm so ashamed," Tom said quietly. "We'll all apologize." I looked at Mom. "And you?" Mom's voice was broken. "Of course I will. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to her if I have to." I turned to Dennis last. "And you? What do you have to say?" He looked at the floor. "I'm sorry." I laughed bitterly. "You're sorry. That's it. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand what you did. You stole. You lied. And worst of all, you let an innocent child suffer to save yourself. That's not just wrong. That's evil." Dennis flinched at the word. I continued. "You're going to apologize to Emma. Once. Face to face. And then you're never going to see her again unless she decides she wants to see you. That might be in a year. It might be in 10 years. It might be never. That's her choice. Not yours. Not mine. Hers." He nodded slowly. I picked up my laptop and folder. "I'm done here. Anyone who wants to make things right with Emma, you can come to our apartment this Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Anyone who doesn't show up won't be part of our lives anymore." Then I walked out. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. In my car, I sat for a moment before starting the engine. I'd just done something I never thought I could do. I'd stood up to my entire family. I'd put my daughter first, even when it meant risking everything else. And it felt right. When I got home, Emma was in the living room with the babysitter working on a puzzle. She looked up when I came in. After I paid the babysitter and she left, I sat down next to Emma on the floor. "Sweetheart, I have something to tell you." She looked at me with those big eyes, still wary, still hurt. "I found out what really happened to Grandma's necklace. Uncle Dennis took it. You were right about everything. You saw him at the safe. He took the necklace. He sold it. And he lied about it." Emma's eyes went wide. "Really? Really? I have proof. I showed the whole family. They all know now that you told the truth." Tears started falling down Emma's cheeks, but these were different tears. Relief. Validation. "So I'm not a liar?" "No, baby. You're not a liar. You never were. And I'm so sorry I didn't believe you right away. I should have trusted you. I should have protected you from the beginning. I failed you, and I'm going to spend every day making that up to you." She threw her arms around me and sobbed into my shoulder. "It's okay, Mommy. I forgive you. But I'm not sure I forgave myself." I told her about the apologies that were coming. Grandma, Aunt Linda, Aunt Grace, Uncle Tom. They all wanted to tell her they were sorry. "What about Uncle Dennis?" she asked. "He wants to apologize too, but after that you won't have to see him unless you want to. He's not allowed to come around anymore. Not until you say it's okay. And you never have to say it's okay. That's your choice." She thought about that for a moment. "I don't want to see him for a long time. Maybe when I'm grown up." "That's completely fine," I said. Saturday came. At 2:00 there was a knock on our door. I opened it to find Mom, Linda, Tom, and Grace standing there. They looked nervous. Emma was sitting on the couch. When she saw them, she tensed up. I sat next to her and held her hand. Mom came in first. She walked slowly to where we sat, and then to my surprise, she knelt down on the floor in front of Emma so she was at eye level with her. "Emma, sweetie, I'm so sorry. I didn't believe you when I should have. I made you wear that horrible sign. I hurt you. I was wrong. Can you forgive me?" Mom was crying. Emma watched her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I forgive you, Grandma." Mom hugged her gently. "Thank you. I love you so much." Linda came next, then Grace, then Tom. Each of them apologized. Each of them told Emma she'd been brave for telling the truth. Emma listened to all of them and accepted their apologies with a maturity that amazed me. After they left, Dennis came alone. I'd scheduled him separately and I stayed right next to Emma the whole time. He didn't kneel. He stood awkwardly in our living room, hands in his pockets. "Emma, I'm sorry. What I did was wrong. I should have told the truth. I shouldn't have let you get blamed for something I did." His apology was stiff, uncomfortable. But he said it. Emma looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "You hurt me a lot. I know. I'm sorry. Okay. But I don't want to see you anymore." He nodded. "I understand." And that was it. He left. I haven't seen him since. The weeks after that were hard. Emma had nightmares sometimes. She'd wake up crying, saying she was wearing the sign again. I'd hold her until she fell back asleep. I took her to see a therapist who specialized in children, a kind woman named Dr. Martinez, who helped Emma process what had happened. Slowly, the nightmares became less frequent. Mom, Linda, and Grace tried hard to rebuild their relationships with Emma. They came over often. They brought small gifts. They played with her. They were patient. But things weren't the same. There was a distance now. Emma was polite but cautious. She didn't run to hug them anymore. She didn't share her secrets as freely. The trust had been broken, and we all knew it would take years to fully repair if it ever could be. Dennis paid me back the money in installments over the next 6 months. He never called, never tried to see Emma. From what I heard through Linda, he'd been essentially ostracized from most family gatherings. Mom still saw him occasionally, but the relationship was strained. The family dynamics had shifted completely. I was no longer the quiet middle child who went along with everything. I'd shown I was willing to burn bridges to protect my daughter. And while some might see that as divisive, I saw it as necessary. Emma slowly returned to being herself. The smiles came back. The drawings continued. She started trusting again, but more carefully this time. She'd learned a hard lesson about the world. Not everyone who should protect you will. Not everyone who should believe you does. But she also learned something else. She learned that her mother would fight for her, that her truth mattered, that she didn't have to accept being treated badly just to keep the peace. One night, about 4 months after everything happened, Emma and I were reading before bed. She looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, am I a good kid?" The question broke my heart. "You're the best kid. Why would you ask that?" "Because I made everyone so upset. The family got all broken because of me." I set the book down and took her face in my hands. "Listen to me carefully. The family got broken because adults made bad choices, not because of you. You told the truth. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. What happened after that was not your fault. Do you understand?" She nodded, but I could see the doubt still lingering. Emma, being good doesn't mean being quiet when something wrong happens. Being good doesn't mean protecting people who hurt you. Being good means having the courage to speak truth even when it's hard. And you did that. You're one of the bravest people I know. She smiled then, a real smile. "Thanks, Mommy." Dennis did eventually send Emma a letter. It arrived about 6 months after everything happened. He wrote about how sorry he was, how he'd been struggling financially, and made terrible decisions, how he hoped one day she might forgive him. I read the letter to Emma and asked what she wanted to do with it. "Can I keep it, but not write back yet?" she asked. Of course. She put the letter in a box under her bed. Maybe someday she'll respond. Maybe she won't. That's her decision to make. As for me, I learned something crucial through this whole nightmare. I learned that family isn't sacred just because of blood. Family has to earn the trust they're given. They have to prove they deserve it. And when they fail, you have to be willing to set boundaries, even painful ones. I also learned that protecting your child sometimes means standing alone. It means being the bad guy in other people's stories. It means choosing your child over keeping the peace, over maintaining relationships, over protecting traditions. And I'd make that choice again in a heartbeat. Today, my relationship with Mom is better than it was, but it'll never be what it was before. There's always going to be a part of me that remembers how she treated Emma. Linda and Grace and I are friendly but surface level. We don't have the deep bond we once did. But Emma knows her mother believes her. She knows I'll fight for her. She knows her voice matters. And that's worth more than any family dinner, any holiday gathering, any tradition. Looking back, I wish I'd acted sooner. I wish I'd trusted Emma from the first moment. I wish I'd stood up when they brought out that sign. Those regrets will stay with me forever. But I also know I did eventually do the right thing. I found the truth. I confronted the liars. I protected my daughter even if it was later than it should have been. Emma's 8 now. She's thriving in 3rd grade. She still loves to draw. She has friends who care about her. She's learning to trust again, carefully but surely. Sometimes she still asks me, "Do you believe me, Mommy?" And every single time without hesitation, I say yes. Because I've learned that lesson the hardest way possible. Your children's words carry weight. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to be believed, especially when it's uncomfortable to do so. Because once you lose their trust, you may never fully get it back. I'm sharing this story because I want other parents to know if you're ever in a situation where you have to choose between your family's expectations and your child's truth, choose your child. Every time. Without question. The consequences might be hard. You might lose relationships. You might be called dramatic or oversensitive or difficult. But your child will know you stood by them. They'll know their truth mattered more to you than anything else. And that knowledge will shape who they become. Emma knows I failed her at first, but she also knows I made it right. She knows I'd go to war for her now, and that's helped her heal. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to stand up for someone you love against your own family? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting someone vulnerable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss future stories. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for taking the time to understand what Emma and I went through. And to anyone out there struggling with similar situations, I want you to know that you're not alone. Standing up for what's right is never easy, but it's always worth it. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. And remember, their truth is worth fighting for.